Welcome back to Living Local here on our Thursday. It is time, as always, to check in with Movie Mike for what's new in theaters. He's Mike Schultz, arts editor for the River Cities Reader. Mike, thanks for coming in.
You bet.
Okay, so first off, our ones from last week.
Okay.
First of all, here, the 355. This was a movie that we talked about. This is our spy movie, right?
Indeed, yes.
And it was, well, okay, why don't you walk me through it? I mean,
okay.
There were some issues, but some good things too.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically like, let's do James Bond, but with all women, is basically the idea behind it. The movie is not pretending to be anything else. The plot is beyond stupid. It is another 2 hours of who's got the flash drive.
Yeah, where stereotypical,
exactly.
derivative.
We're hopping the globe. We're looking for the person who's going to start World War III. Nobody tried very hard to make to make a good storyline. But the cast is so incredibly good in this. They're doing a really tricky thing. They're playing characters, making them really believable, but while also letting you know that they know how silly it is.
They know how dumb this is. Okay.
Exactly. And so you've got Jessica Chastain, you have Lupita Nyong'o, you have Diane Kruger, you have Penelope Cruz, who steals the whole movie. She's just fantastic. And they are doing so many kind of really subtle and clever things within their characters while also giving you kind of the action thriller nonsense that you showed up for in the first place. I did not expect to have any fun. I had a great time. I really did.
All right.
Yeah, not a bad way to start the year.
There we go.
Yeah.
Next up here is The Lost Daughter from last week.
Yes.
So this is Olivia Colman.
Who we love.
She's great, but okay, as I read it right, she's not a good person in this movie.
Oh,
right?
she's horrible.
See,
yeah,
I could watch that. Then.
And that's the tricky thing is that Olivia Colman is so inherently lovable, you know. And so she plays in this film a professor who is on a Greek island working vacation. She runs into a neighboring vacationing family led by a mom whose child is driving her crazy, and the mom is clearly not doing her best. And Olivia Colman starts having flashbacks to when she was her own kind of terrible mother 30 years earlier. And so, yeah, it's kind of artfully done in terms of like going between the past and the present. Olivia Colman is fantastic. Dakota Johnson is terrific there. But it's a really tricky, uncomfortable movie that doesn't quite have the dramatic punch that it should. And yeah, Olivia Colman is incredibly hard to like in a way that's more off-putting than fascinating, I guess. It's the best way I can say. It's worth a look, maybe, but you have to be in the right mood. And I wasn't, clearly.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of questionable. See,
yeah, I don't know.
When you get people who are kind of like almost typecast at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you just can't handle it.
Yeah,
okay.
It was hard.
Let's move on. So our latest one from Amazon, because they make movies now here too, is a George Clooney movie called The Tender Bar.
The Tender Bar, yes. This is based on a memoir of a young man whose father walked out on him when he was a child, and so he and his mom moved into the Long Island house of her dad, played by Christopher Lloyd there. And it's basically a coming-of-age story as the boy tries to basically gets a new father figure in Ben Affleck's Uncle Charlie. And I wish the movie were less charming than it is. It is really kind of going out of its way to be this endearing to all people movie about this kid and his bartender uncle, and then but the kid doesn't really go through any trauma.
So it's just very comfortable.
It's just a very nice little movie. He gets scholarships to Yale. He gets a job at the New York Times after. He writes a book deal. His parents or his mom stays happy. Uncle Charlie's happy. The people at the bar are like Norm and Cliff. I mean, it's like everything is so nice in this movie that I was like waiting for some drama, and it's just sweet for an hour and 40 minutes. And yeah, I got nothing after this.
It's one of those where you're on the back of your seat.
Yeah,
you know,
yes.
Very comfortably.
Well phrased. Yes. I'll just nap during this part, you know. Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, that was nice. All right, so you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the new stuff now.
Okay.
Now we'll get into some terror. So, Scream, that franchise, now has a new entry here.
And it's called Scream. How long did it take him to come up with that title?
Yeah.
Yes, this is actually, believe it or not, the 5th Scream movie, even though it's still called Scream.
Right.
Taking place 25 years after the events of the first film, where Neve Campbell and David Arquette and Courtney Cox were all terrorized by, as well as a whole bunch of teenagers, were terrorized by the guy who looks like an Edvard Munch painting in a ghost face mask. Indeed, and so we're basically just reprising the formula one more time with a whole new set of teens. We bring the former co-stars back for cameo appearances. Apparently, it's going to be a lot of meta commentary on the nature of horror movies, I'm sure, as all of them are. Yeah, I mean, it's been 10 years since we had the last one, I guess. So maybe it's time, but I don't know if it's time for me. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not dreading
You'll go watch
but
it just because
they pay me to do it. Right. That's my job. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Last but not least here today is our second new movie, which is called The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Yeah, you might have heard of that title.
Yeah, Macbeth.
It's been famous for 500 years. Yes, indeed. Shakespeare's classic tragedy Macbeth is being remade into a film version. It gets remade basically every 10 years or so. But this one has a crazy talent pedigree. We have Mr. Denzel Washington playing Macbeth. We have Frances McDormand playing his wife, Lady M. It is a tale of violence and revenge and guilt, and it is a nasty piece of work. It's my favorite Shakespeare tragedy of all of them, and it's also short. It's an hour, 40 minutes. Being directed by Joel Coen of the Coen brothers, doing his first movie ever without his brother Ethan along for the ride. So, yeah, but I can't wait to see that. That's a crazy good cast.
That'll be
great director.
That'll be very interesting.
Yeah, it's on Apple Plus.
Yes,
That's right.
We should mention too, it's streaming, not just in theaters.
Indeed.
As well. All right,
Yeah.
Mike, thanks for coming in.
You bet.
As always. So in review, movies from out last week, The 355, The Lost Daughter, and The Tender Bar, and new this week, Scream, The Tragedy of Macbeth as well. You can always read Mike's movie reviews inside the latest River Cities Reader on stands everywhere and online at rcreader.com. And for more information on today's movies, our website right there is ourquadcities.com.